I've always had a passion for cars. Old cars, new cars, pretty much anything with an engine. I love the clean lines of cars. Just the movement and the body style and the absolute beauty. You know, cylinders, motors, wheels, transmission, and most of all, the promise of speed. I'm Dan Heit, the founder, president, and CEO of JusticeWorks. What we do here is a lot like a sports car. There are a lot of moving parts. My childhood was typical of the 1950s. I had a two-parent home. I grew up in a small town upstate New York, a town of 5,000 people. It was an era where I don't even think we had a key to the front door. The car was not only left on the street every night, the key was left in it. My father was the breadwinner. He worked as a sales manager for a children's clothing manufacturer. He had grown up in New York, and he and my mom moved upstate to get away from the intensity and the dangers of the big city. My mom was essentially a stay-at-home mom, took care of my older brother, my younger sister, and me. I went to college in the 60s. My dad died during my freshman year, and I was sort of, in many ways, cast adrift. I did manage to graduate and had the opportunity to go to grad school in Chicago and do my first year at the Jung Institute in Zurich, Switzerland. Instead, being a thorough child of the 60s by then, I decided to move to California and try to start a commune. In order to finance it, I had run into someone out there who was kind of the West Coast inventor of LSD. And I arranged with him to buy, I forget now, but tens of thousands of doses of LSD. You know, it was the 60s. There were a lot of drug users. I mean, a lot. I brought them back to Chicago, where I had developed something of a network in that world, and was set up by someone who I thought was a friend because he was working his way out of his drug charge. Instead of getting a bunch of money for a bunch of drugs, I was faced a drug enforcement agent with a .45 revolver pointed at my head who said, "You're busted." I got a 2-year sentence and served about a year and then became eligible for parole. When I was in prison, I talked them into letting me take an auto mechanics course. And in a very real way, that taught me perseverance. I could always explain how a car worked. I had never held a wrench in my hands. So when you work with a car, either it starts or it doesn't. You step on the brakes, it stops or it doesn't. You can't talk your way in or out of it. So that was really foundational for me in terms of understanding a commitment to follow the work through. In 1973, I'd been working as a sports car mechanic and at the same time as a kindergarten teacher. I didn't really want a career as a mechanic, but that working with kids and was part of getting back to my original trajectory to be in human services. I wanted to get a job in human services, not particularly committed to staying in Chicago, and a friend of a friend knew the founder of Abraxas and said, hey, talk to Arlene, she's starting some crazy program out in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. So I contacted her. I was hired as a counselor. Going into it, my mindset was, well, I'm going to work for a year or two, get some real life experience, save some money, then I'll go back to grad school. But there was something about being part of a startup organization, and most of us lived right on that campus in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. And so in a way, it was like that communal experience that I tried to create, and I got very captivated by it. And then so in 4 years, I went from being a counselor to being the executive director of the organization. After 20 years at Abraxas, I was fired very undeservedly, and it's a long, complex story, but it took me a while to get my feet under me. But as I explored opportunities, I was aware of the missing link in the juvenile justice system, and that was that a lot of resources were devoted to the deep end of the system, very little to the transition for kids going back to their family and their community. So I had an idea for a service that I thought would add value to the system, save the public sector money, and achieve better outcomes for kids with real challenges by doing an earlier, more concrete job of their transition back home, and then providing support and supervision when they were back in the community. So I talked to a lot of people, found one county, Lehigh County in northeastern Pennsylvania, and that's when I spoke to Andy.
Hi, my name's Andrew D'Angelo. I'm the former Deputy Chief Probation Officer for Lehigh County Juvenile Probation. I first met Dan Heit in the mid-1990s. Dan came to our office for a scheduled meeting to discuss the JusticeWorks program. He presented a rather unique idea at the time. The program was predicated on the need to have more consistent contact with kids in placement so that they would do as best they could while in placement, and also set up aftercare plans for kids when they return back home.
I started the company with an idea and $300. And the $300 was to incorporate JusticeWorks. And the $300 at that time was not easy to come by.
We established a grant to set up the JusticeWorks program in Lehigh County. It was a 3-year federal grant that allowed us to provide the funding for JusticeWorks to hire an institutional case manager and a community-based case manager to assist in the reintegration process for youth that were in placement in the western part of Pennsylvania.
When I began as director at the Office of Children and Youth Services, JusticeWorks was not in Lehigh County at all. When Lehigh County was trying to reduce the number of children in out-of-home placement in foster care, we submitted a request for proposals to our providers within the county. And JusticeWorks responded to the proposal with the program called STOP, which was intended to keep children in their home rather than into foster care.
JusticeWorks was building partnerships with our public stakeholders, and that was something that was just really exciting. You know, initially it was building programs, and then what ended up happening was building relationships.
JusticeWorks has developed several signature services we created, but a hallmark amongst all of them is that they're comprehensive, elastic, and flexible. And we're always looking to match what we do to the needs of the children and families we're working with.
We provide over 20 different family-based services at JusticeWorks. And the goal of those services is to keep the families whole and intact, prevent placement, and to give them the community resources and the tools and the skills so when JusticeWorks Services closes out, the family is able to maintain and sustain themselves.
During my 15 years here at JusticeWorks, I've had so many different experiences where I've offered the array of services that we have, from parenting education to case management services to helping families reunify with their children. So I really value the programs that we have because we've seen a positive impact on the families that we serve.
The Family Engagement Initiative was created so that not just caseworkers and supervisors are engaged in the family's participation in services. Within JusticeWorks, we do what's called family finding, and we locate resources and connections for those families. It's not just siblings, it's not just mom and dad. We're looking for church members, we're looking for extended family, we're looking for neighbors, families that are outside of just the state, and bringing all of those supports together to make sure that they have available resources when things aren't necessarily going their way. The Family Engagement Initiative really follows the family closely within the court system to ensure that their goals are being met throughout the lifespan of the services that they're being provided.
My experience at JusticeWorks doing community-based work has been an incredible experience because you get a lot of time with families and youth in their natural environment, so within their home setting, within their communities, within their school systems. And it really gives you kind of a first-hand look of what's going on.
We may go into a home where there's an eviction notice nailed to the door. Our model is not just to say to the family, well, you have an appointment at the housing office next Tuesday at 8:30. We show up at the house at 7:30 in the morning. We make sure everybody is awake, fed, dressed, diapered. We take them to the appointment, and then when an apartment is chosen, we rent a pickup truck, help them organize their belongings and do it in the frame of a life skills lesson and budgeting, and then help them move in. So we're very hands-on and very much working with families to move their lives forward.
One of the things that Dan's known for is being innovative. One of the things JusticeWorks is known for is being innovative. We're getting opportunities to create so many innovative programs because there's so much need out there.
Dan Heit, as well as myself, both believe that it's important to manage by walking around. That's something he says all of the time. And I've continued to do that really into my role that I have right now as regional director. Even though I've been in this role for 2 years and have been a little removed from the field, I've continued to shadow with staff in the field and to provide coverage and support when necessary so I can keep a pulse on what we're doing out in the field.
Complacency has no part in JusticeWorks, and that starts with Dan. He really is never comfortable where we're at, and I mean that in the best way possible. So each day I look at as the ability to make a change in somebody's life.
What really matters to me a lot is hearing that feedback from families, where they have come to us and said, if it wasn't for you, I'm not sure where I would be. If it wasn't for you sticking with me through the tough times and helping me understand all of my strengths when all I saw was deficits, I'm not sure where I would be.
When I started JusticeWorks, it was with a commitment to be 100% community-based provider, no residential facilities. If you see a family or a child in an office, you hear about their life. If you're in their living room, you see their life and you understand it. So I felt we could be much more effective by going out, being with people where they live, understanding and understanding the strengths in the family that we could build on.
And I'm sure he might be getting hungry. It's probably about his time.
Nurturing Parenting is a parenting program that we offer to families who are struggling with basic parenting skills. In Berks County, it was one of the first services that we offered there. We were able to expand that service within Berks County, within other counties in Pennsylvania, and eventually throughout the other states that we provide services to.
My hopes and dreams for my children are the world. They're very smart, and I feel like they have every opportunity at their fingertips, and it's up to me to help develop that. My name is Ryan Gerber, and I'm the proud father of Micah and Elia Gerber.
Ryan came into our services about 2 years ago, had some challenges that he was facing, criminal charges that led to a service disruption with us at JusticeWorks. And fast forward now to 2 years later, Ryan has returned to our services and has a long-term commitment to keep his kids currently in his home as he continues to work towards reunification.
JusticeWorks has helped me become a better father by helping me create a solid structure and schedule in my life and for the kids, setting goals and achieving them, connecting me to resources in the community, simple parenting sessions to, either relearn it or refresh it or to, learn something new. There's many ways that they've helped me be a better father or just a better person in the community. Appreciative of that.
So this is what we call your client expectation contract. It just goes over who referred you. Ryan's commitment to his children and his family shows because he's kid first. In every interaction I have with Ryan, he talks about his kids. He talks about prioritizing them in everything he does. Ryan is a loyal, committed father who wants nothing but the best for his children.
I'm full support of them, and I just want nothing but success for them. Without the support of Stephen and JusticeWorks, I would like to say that I'd be in a good position, although the fact of it is they've been a huge support. I don't really know where I would be, but at the end of the day, I make my own decisions. Ultimately, it's me doing it.
At JusticeWorks, we're committed to keep families together. Ryan is a great example of being able to keep his family together as he continues to show the commitment of keeping his children in his home while providing support for them.
We're always thinking what's in the best interest of the child. What can we add that will achieve better functioning, a safer environment, a more productive family?
It's about that kid we shorten the length of stay at a facility. It's about the family we were able to reunify. It's about the family we were able to keep together. It's about the tools that we were able to give somebody to be sustainable for the rest of their life. Whether it's in Pennsylvania or whatever state we're in, those are the values, those are our core values to make sure we don't forget that it's the families we're here to serve.
Dan's key values are kids and families, whatever it takes to make sure that the families are getting the services that JusticeWorks say that we're going to provide.
I had never had anyone there to kind of help me, and I was always used to living in chaos. So being stable, it was like a whole new world. It's like I couldn't function because I was so used to, things going off the rails, going crazy. My name is Theo Garland, and I am a direct support professional. The way I got involved with the independent living program through JusticeWorks was I was having issues at home with my mother at the time. She was kind of on drugs and stuff like that, you know. So children and youth came out to talk to my family, and they explained this program called the Independent Living Program. And at first I was very hesitant to join it because I just graduated high school. I wasn't quite sure if that's what I wanted, but they explained a little bit more kind of what it was about life skills and helping me do things, you know, that my mother never gave me the support to do. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll try, I'll give it a try, see what it's like.
Theo Garland did not have a lot of support when he started participating in our independent living program. However, as he became more involved, he was able to graduate high school and he obtained his driver's license. He obtained a mentor as well as helped other youth become more comfortable in the mentor program. He also obtained his own apartment, and that was his first experience, you know, being on his own and being successful in living independently.
Brandy Shirley really took the time to get to know me and showed that she actually cared about me. Before I was in the independent living program, I always thought, oh, nobody really cares about you, you know, who are you? You're not family, you're nothing, you know? They're not gonna care. But being Brandy's independent living kid really showed me that it doesn't matter if you're family or not. When you spend a long time with somebody, you really develop a relationship with them. I feel like the biggest help in being in, you know, with these workers is they're so normal, and I've never seen normal before. And so I kind of like was inspired by them. I don't need to live in chaos. I can live normally and have a full functioning life.
Theo Garland is a great example of a youth in our independent living program who created and achieved his own goals.
One of my favorite stories about the importance of our work came from a handwritten note in crayon from an 8-year-old girl to our caseworker, and she said, "Dear Allison, I love you. Thank you for everything. My mommy is nice again." I think our ability to be successful at preventing out-of-home placements really comes back to our core principle of whatever it takes. We don't accept less. We go into a case expecting a positive outcome, expecting good results, and we don't give up until we achieve them.
Dan's good at recognizing the accomplishments of the team as well. You know, no matter how many hundreds of employees we have, he's quick to write a line wishing us happy anniversaries or recognizing something positive that someone's done. And it just goes a long way for individuals throughout the company.
We not only want to know how we're doing in our work lives, but we want to know how we're doing in our lives in general. We celebrate birthdays. We, send out vast emails regarding the great work that's being done. We, create an environment where the work that we do can be celebrated. What can we do to make this environment more pleasurable to work in? And why is that so important? I think that's a big part of why we have high retention at JusticeWorks.
Dan's values are, caring, compassion, being honest and forthright, and making sure that you're always doing the right thing.
I think each of us have a story, and each of us have the ability to change somebody's life, and it doesn't have to be somebody that we're entrusted to care for, but just how you treat people goes a long way. And I personally view it as life is too short to be in a bad mood.
In my position specifically, I like to hear that our staff are happy and that they feel comfortable working here. That's really important to me. Just because if our staff aren't happy, then our families aren't going to be happy and they're not going to feel supported. So I think that is most important.
We all support Dan by trying to deliver the best possible services that we can. This is his company, his idea, something he created, and the best thing that we can do for him is to just provide exemplary services that he can be proud of.
One of the things I love about racing is the pit crew and how many people have different roles and they need to work together very, very fast to support the race car and to help it win the race. I see that at our team at JusticeWorks. We have our race car drivers, our direct care staff, our management in the counties, our regional directors, but there are many other departments and people who work quietly but tirelessly behind the scenes to make everything else possible and everything else effective.
About JusticeWorks and what keeps me here is the people I work with, is the team that we've built here.
It's not about what we do, it's how we do it, and the people really make the how.
Really, I think what sets us apart are the people that we have. And we're fortunate to have roughly 600 to 700 outstanding people.
Yeah, one day Dan said to me, "Oh, you're gonna be a rock star." So today, I guess I'm the rock star for Dan.
What's it like to work for Dan? I think it's fantastic. I've always been a big fan of Dan. He has been a steadfast pillar of JusticeWorks. I know that Dan values loyalty. I know that he values people, commitment, transparency. He is strength-based and positive in everything he does, and you can feel that from him.
What's our mission? What do? We're building better futures for youth, family, and the community. And that is important to Dan. We're a family. You know, Dan is okay if we disagree. Dan wants somebody that's a sounding board. He doesn't want a yes sir person. He wants someone to really critically think and not only come up with great ideas, but challenge his ideas.
I've been here for 12 years. I just love it. I love everything about JusticeWorks.
Personally, I come back to JusticeWorks every day. I love my job. I like the challenge. And they are like a second family to me. I'm very close to a lot of our managers. I've been through a lot personally that we've kind of just always stuck together.
I think the potential growth for JusticeWorks is frankly everywhere. Sadly, the need for what we do is inexhaustible. It's nationwide and it's everywhere. I think we've earned a reputation for excellence, for capability, for responsiveness that really will continue to open doors, both where we're operating today, expansions, different services, as well as new locations. I think a lot of our growth fundamentally comes back to the word perseverance, that we're always pushing forward.